When hotel maid Mei-Lin Zhang answered a phone call in Chinese for billionaire Viktor Petrov, she thought she was just helping a scared guest. The voice on the other end made her blood freeze. It was Li Wei, the dangerous man she had been hiding from for 3 years. The next morning, Mei-Lin was gone. Her cleaning cart sat empty in the hallway. Her gray uniform hung unused in her locker. No one at the Pacific Crown Hotel had seen her leave. But Victor knew the truth. Li Wei hadn't just called to collect a debt. He had called to take back what he believed belonged to him. And now, an innocent woman had vanished because she tried to help a stranger. The police said Mei-Lin probably just quit her job and moved away. Rich people lose interest in their servants all the time, but Victor couldn't forget the terror in her eyes when she heard that voice. He couldn't forget how her hands shook as she answered the phone. Something terrible had happened to the quiet maid who spoke perfect Chinese, something that would change both their lives forever. But who was Mei-Lin really? And why was Victor so sure that saving her would be the most important thing he ever did? The wheels of Mei-Lin Zhang's cleaning cart squeaked as she pushed it down the long hallway. The sound echoed off the marble walls of the Pacific Crown Hotel. Everything here was shiny and expensive. Golden light fixtures hung from the ceiling like jewelry. Soft music played from hidden speakers. The carpet was so thick that her feet sank into it with each step. Mei-Lin had been working at this fancy hotel for 3 years. Every morning, she put on her gray uniform and became invisible. Rich people walked past her like she was a ghost. They talked on their phones about million-dollar deals while she cleaned around them. They never looked at her face. To them, she was just another pair of hands that made their beds and emptied their trash. The Pacific Crown sat on the top floors of the tallest building in the city. From the windows, you could see the whole world spread out below. Fancy cars looked like toys on the streets. People looked like ants walking on the sidewalks. Up here, the rich lived above everyone else. They liked it that way. Mei-Lin was 28 years old, but she felt much older. Life in America was hard when you didn't speak English perfectly. She had come here with big dreams, like so many others. She wanted to go to school, maybe become a teacher, but dreams cost money, and money was hard to find when you were nobody special. Every month she sent half her paycheck back to China. Her mother was sick with cancer. The medicine was expensive. Without Mei-Lin's help, her mother would die. So Mei-Lin cleaned toilets and made beds for people who spent more on one dinner than she made in a month. She did it with a smile even, when her back hurt and her hands were raw from cleaning chemicals. Today felt different, though. Mei-Lin couldn't explain why. Maybe it was the dark storm clouds gathering outside the tall windows. Maybe it was the way the rich guests whispered to each other in the lobby this morning. Their voices sounded worried, scared even. Something heavy hung in the air, like the feeling before lightning strikes. She stopped her cart in front of room 1847. A movie star was staying here. Mei-Lin had seen her in magazines at the grocery store. The woman had perfect hair and perfect teeth. But when Mei-Lin cleaned her room yesterday, she found empty wine bottles hidden under the bed. Even perfect people had secrets. Mei-Lin knocked softly on the door. "Housekeeping," she called in her quiet voice. No answer. She used her key card to open the door. The room was a mess. Expensive clothes thrown everywhere. Half-eaten room service food on the table. The smell of perfume and sadness mixed in the air. As she worked, Mei-Lin thought about her real mother back in China. Not the rich woman whose room she was cleaning, but her own mother. The woman who had worked 3 jobs to send Mei-Lin to school. The woman who cried when Mei-Lin left for America. The woman who now lay in a hospital bed getting weaker every day. Mei-Lin folded the movie star's designer dress carefully. It probably cost more than her entire year's salary, but money couldn't buy happiness. She had learned that watching these rich people for 3 years, they had everything, but they still seemed empty inside. She finished cleaning the room and moved her cart to the next door. Room after room, she cleaned up after people who would never know her name. She dusted their tables, vacuumed their floors, and changed their sheets. She was part of the invisible army that kept this golden world running. The other maids were kind to her. Rosa from Mexico taught her English phrases. Kim from Korea shared her lunch when Mei-Lin forgot to bring food. They understood each other without many words. They were all far from home, working hard to help their families survive. But the hotel managers barely saw the maids as human. They gave orders without saying please or thank you. They complained when the work wasn't perfect, but never said good job when it was. To them, the maids were just machines that cleaned rooms. Mei-Lin had learned to make herself even more invisible than the others. She spoke softly. She moved quietly. She never looked the guests in the eye. That was how people like her survived in places like this, by becoming so small that no one noticed them at all. As the afternoon wore on, the storm outside got worse. Rain hit the windows hard. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The lights in the hallway flickered once, then went steady again. Mei-Lin pushed her cart toward the elevator that would take her to the penthouse floor. The penthouse was where the most important guests stayed. People with private jets and bodyguards. People who owned companies and countries. Mei-Lin only cleaned up there once a week. Today was that day. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. Mei-Lin pushed her cart inside and pressed the button for the top floor. As the elevator climbed higher and higher, she felt her ears pop. Up here, she was closer to the clouds than to the street, closer to heaven than to earth. The penthouse hallway was quieter than the other floors. Thicker carpet, softer lights. Even the air smelled different, like money and power and secrets. Mei-Lin had 3 rooms to clean up here. The first 2 were empty. The guests had checked out that morning, leaving behind only the smell of expensive cologne and the memory of whispered phone calls. But as she approached the 3rd room, the presidential suite, something was different. She could hear a phone ringing inside, ring after ring after ring, but no one was answering it. The door to the suite was open just a crack. Mei-Lin knew she should knock and announce herself, but something made her stop and listen. Through the small opening, she could see, inside, a man in an expensive suit stood in the middle of the room. His back was to the door, but she could see his shoulders shaking. The phone on the table kept ringing, but he just stared at it. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides. Mei-Lin had seen fear before. She had felt it herself many times. But this was different. This man had money and power. He had everything. So why did he look so terrified of a simple phone call? The phone stopped ringing. The man let out a long breath. Then it started ringing again. This time, Mei-Lin could see the name on the phone screen. It was written in Chinese characters that made her heart stop beating and her blood turn to ice. Because she knew that name. And if that name was calling this rich, powerful man, then both of their lives were about to change forever. The man in the expensive suit was Viktor Petrov. His face had been on magazine covers and TV news shows. He owned oil companies that drilled deep into the earth. He owned banks that held millions of people's money. His name was whispered in boardrooms around the world with respect and fear. But right now, Viktor looked nothing like the powerful man from the magazines. Sweat ran down his face, even though the room was cold. His hands shook as he stared at the ringing phone. The sound seemed to get louder with each ring, like a fire alarm that wouldn't stop. Viktor had come to the Pacific Crown Hotel 3 days ago. Not for business meetings or fancy parties. He had come here to hide. Like a scared child hiding under his bed from monsters in the dark. The monsters chasing Viktor were very real. They wore expensive suits just like his. They drove black cars with tinted windows. They smiled when they shook your hand, but their eyes were cold as winter ice. These men had power that went deeper than money. They had power over life and death. 6 months ago, Viktor had made a deal with the wrong people. He needed money fast to save his biggest company. The banks wouldn't help him. His friends had turned their backs, so he went to people who lived in the shadows. People who didn't ask questions, but always expected to be paid back. The deal had gone wrong. Very wrong. Now Viktor owed $50 million to men who collected debts with bullets instead of lawyers. They had already sent him pictures of his daughter at her school in Switzerland. Pictures that said, "We know where she is," without using any words. The phone kept ringing. Viktor knew who was calling. He had been expecting this call for weeks. But knowing something is coming and being ready for it are two very different things. Through the crack in the door, Mei-Lin watched this powerful man fall apart. She had cleaned the rooms of many rich people. She had seen them angry, drunk, and sad, but she had never seen one look so completely afraid. Viktor reached for the phone, then pulled his hand back like the phone was on fire. He walked to the window and looked down at the city far below. For a moment, Mei-Lin thought he might jump. Rich men sometimes did that when their money couldn't save them anymore. But Viktor turned away from the window. He sat down in a chair that cost more than most people's cars. His head fell into his hands. The phone finally stopped ringing. Mei-Lin felt sorry for him. She didn't know why. This man probably had more money than her entire village back in China. He lived in a world she could never enter. But fear looked the same. On everyone, rich or poor, fear made people small and helpless. The phone started ringing again. This time, Viktor jumped up like he had been shocked. He paced around the room like a caged animal, back and forth, back and forth. His expensive shoes made no sound on the thick carpet. Mei-Lin could see the name on the phone screen clearly now. Li Wei. 2 simple Chinese characters that made her stomach feel sick. She pressed her hand against her mouth to keep from making noise. Li Wei was not just any name. It was the name from her nightmares. The name she had run away from 3 years ago. The name she had hoped never to see or hear again. Li Wei had been her husband back in China. But husband was too kind a word for what he really was. He had bought her from her father like she was a piece of furniture. He had treated her like a slave in his house. He had hurt her in ways that left scars you couldn't see. The marriage had been arranged when Mei-Lin was only 19. Her father owed Li Wei money. Instead of paying with cash, he paid with his daughter. Li Wei was rich and powerful in Shanghai. He owned restaurants and shipping companies, but his real business was much darker. For 3 years, Mei-Lin had lived in Li Wei's house like a prisoner. She cooked his food and cleaned his rooms. She smiled when he brought business partners home. She pretended to be happy when people said how lucky she was to marry such a successful man. But late at night, when Li Wei was drunk or angry, she learned what kind of man he really was. She learned about the people who owed him money and disappeared. She learned about the girls who worked in his buildings and were never seen again. She learned that her husband's hands were covered in blood, even when they looked clean. One night, when Li Wei was away on business, Mei-Lin had run. She took nothing but the clothes on her back and what little money she could find. She ran through the dark streets of Shanghai to the airport. She bought a ticket to America with a credit card she had stolen from Li Wei's wallet. She had been hiding in America for 3 years, working as a maid, sending money to her mother, trying to forget the nightmare of her marriage. She thought she was safe. She thought Li Wei would never find her in this big country so far from home. But now his name was on a phone in the penthouse of the Pacific Crown Hotel. He was calling Viktor Petrov, one of the richest men in America. Which meant Li Wei's reach was longer than she had ever imagined. The phone stopped ringing again. Viktor sat down heavily in his chair. He looked like he had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Then the phone rang one more time. Viktor stared at it like it was a poisonous snake. His breathing was fast and shallow. Sweat stained his expensive shirt. Mei-Lin made a choice that would change both their lives forever. She knocked softly on the door. Viktor spun around so fast he almost fell. Over. His eyes were wide with panic. "Who's there?" he called out in a voice that cracked like a teenager's. "Housekeeping," Mei-Lin said quietly. She pushed the door open just enough to step inside. Viktor saw her grey uniform and relaxed slightly. Just a maid. Nobody important. Nobody dangerous. "I'm sorry, sir," Mei-Lin said in her careful English. "I heard the phone. I thought maybe you needed help." Viktor laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Help? You want to help me?" The phone started ringing again. Viktor's face went completely white. His hands began to shake so hard he had to sit on them. Mei-Lin looked at the phone screen, at the name that haunted her dreams, at the man who had made her life hell for 3 years. "I can answer for you," she heard herself say. Viktor stared at her like she had grown a second head. "What?" "The phone call," Mei-Lin said. "I can answer it. I speak Chinese." Viktor's mouth fell open. Rich men weren't used to hotel maids offering to help with their personal problems. But Viktor was desperate, and desperate people sometimes made choices they never thought they would make. "You speak Chinese?" he asked. Mei-Lin nodded. "Yes." "Sir." The phone kept ringing. Each ring sounded like a hammer hitting Viktor's head. "Please," Viktor whispered. The word came out like a prayer. Mei-Lin walked to the table. Her legs felt like water. Her heart beat so fast she thought it might explode. She picked up the phone with hands that shook almost as much as Viktor's. She looked at the screen one more time. Li Wei, the man who had owned her, the man who had broken her, the man she thought she had escaped. Mei-Lin answered the phone. "Wei," Mei-Lin said into the phone. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. The Chinese word for hello felt strange on her tongue after 3 years of speaking English. For a moment, there was only silence. Then she heard breathing on the other end. Slow, careful breathing, like a snake waiting to strike. "Well, well," came the voice that made Mei-Lin's blood turn to ice. "My little runaway wife." Li Wei's voice was exactly as she remembered. Smooth like expensive silk, cold like winter wind. He spoke in Mandarin, the language of her childhood and her nightmares. Mei-Lin's legs almost gave out. She grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. Viktor watched her face change, from scared to terrified. He didn't understand the Chinese words, but he could see that something very bad was happening. "Hello, Li Wei," Mei-Lin managed to say. She tried to keep her voice steady, but it shook like a leaf in a storm. "You sound different, my dear," Li Wei said. "America has changed you. Made you think you could run away from your husband. Made you think you could hide from me forever." "I'm not your wife anymore," Mei-Lin said. "That life is over. I'm free now." Li Wei laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass. "Free? Oh, my sweet Mei-Lin, you were never free. You will never be free. A wife belongs to her husband until death. You know this." Viktor couldn't understand the words, but he could hear the evil in Li Wei's voice. It sounded like the voice of a man who enjoyed hurting people. Viktor had heard voices like that before, in dark alleys and empty warehouses where bad deals were made. "What do you want?" Mei-Lin asked. She was trying to be brave, but tears started running down her face. "I want many things," Li Wei said. "I want my property back. I want the money you stole from me. And I want the man standing next to you to pay his debts." Mei-Lin looked at Viktor with wide eyes. How did Li Wei know Viktor was there? Was he watching them somehow? I didn't steal anything from you, Mei-Lin said. You stole yourself, Li Wei replied. You belong to me. When you ran away, you took what was mine. That makes you a thief. Viktor stepped closer. What is he saying? He whispered. Mei-Lin covered the phone with her hand. He says I belong to him. He says you owe him money. Viktor's face went pale. Ask him how much. Mei-Lin uncovered the phone. Li Wei, the American man wants to know about his debt. $50 million, Li Wei said in English. His accent was thick, but his words were clear. Plus interest. Plus penalty for making me wait. Viktor heard the number and sat down hard in his chair. $50 million. It might as well have been 50 billion. He had that much money once, but not anymore. His companies were failing. His accounts were frozen. He was rich on paper, but poor in cash. Li Wei switched back to Chinese. I know you can hear me, Viktor Petrov. Your little maid will translate for us. Won't you, my dear wife? Stop calling me that, Mei-Lin said. But her voice was weak. Li Wei's words were like chains wrapping around her again. You can call yourself whatever you want in America, Li Wei said. You can pretend to be a free woman. You can clean toilets and scrub floors. But you are still my wife. And now you're going to help me collect what I'm owed. Viktor could see that Mei-Lin was falling apart. Whatever this man was saying to her was breaking her spirit. Viktor had seen that look before. It was the look of someone who had given up hope. Mei-Lin, Viktor said gently. Tell me what he's saying, all of it. Mei-Lin looked at him with eyes full of pain. He says I have to help him get your money. He says I'm still his wife. He says I can never be free. That's not true, Viktor said. You are free. This is America. No one owns you here. Li Wei's voice came through the phone again. Tell him he's wrong, Mei-Lin. Tell him about the pictures I sent to his hotel room this morning. Mei-Lin translated. Viktor's eyes went wide. What pictures? Check your door, Li Wei said in English. Look for an envelope. Viktor ran to the door. On the floor was a white envelope that hadn't been there before. His hand shook as he opened it. Inside were photos. Photos of his daughter Emma at her school in Switzerland. Photos of her walking to class. Photos of her eating lunch with friends. Photos of her sleeping in her dorm room. Viktor's knees went weak. His little girl. His beautiful, innocent daughter. Li Wei's people had been watching her. They could hurt her anytime they wanted. You monster, Viktor whispered. Li Wei heard him. I'm a businessman, Mr. Petrov. I provide services. I make loans. I collect debts. Your daughter is safe as long as you pay what you owe. Viktor looked at the photos again. Emma was only 16 years old. She had blonde hair like her mother and blue eyes like his. She was studying art and music. She wanted to be a teacher when she grew up. She had nothing to do with his bad choices. How long do I have? Viktor asked. Li Wei switched back to Chinese to talk to Mei-Lin. Tell him he has 24 hours. But there's more. I don't want just his money anymore. I want my wife back too. Mei-Lin's face went white. No. I won't go back to you. I'd rather die. That can be arranged, Li Wei said calmly. But first, your mother would die. Then your little friend Emma would die. Then Viktor would die. Then finally, you would die. Is that really what you want? Mei-Lin's world started spinning. Her mother, Viktor's daughter. All these innocent people would suffer because of her, because she had tried to be free. What do you want us to do? She asked in a voice like a broken whisper. Li Wei's voice became soft and gentle, but Mei-Lin knew that was when he was most dangerous. I want you to bring Viktor to me, tonight. Come to the old pier where we used to walk when we were first married. Remember that place, my dear, where you promised to love me forever? Mei-Lin remembered. It was where Li Wei had first hit her, where he had first showed her what kind of man he really was. If we come, Mei-Lin said, will you let everyone else go? Will you leave my mother alone? Will you leave the girl alone? If Viktor pays his debt and you come home where you belong, then yes, everyone else can live their lives in peace. Viktor could see that Mei-Lin was about to agree, about to sacrifice herself to save others. He had seen that kind of courage before, but never from someone with so little power. Wait, Viktor said. Ask him about the pier. Where is it? What time? Mei-Lin asked. Li Wei answered. Pier 19 at midnight, Mei-Lin translated. Come alone. Both of us. And if we don't come? Viktor asked. Li Wei's voice turned cold as death. Then tomorrow morning, 3 people will be found dead. A sick old woman in Shanghai, a young girl in Switzerland, and a rich man in America who thought he could hide from his debts. The phone went quiet for a moment. Then Li Wei spoke one more time. 24 hours, my dear wife. Don't make me wait any longer than I already have. You know how impatient I get, and you remember what happens when I get angry. The line went dead. Mei-Lin dropped the phone like it was a burning coal. It hit the thick carpet with a soft thud. Viktor caught it before it could bounce away. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it too. The room felt colder now. The storm outside had gotten worse. Rain hammered against the windows like angry fists. Lightning flashed across the dark sky, making scary shadows dance on the walls. What did he say at the end? Viktor asked. His voice sounded old and tired. After he gave us the address? Mei-Lin wiped tears from her cheeks. He said 24 hours. He said not to make him wait. He said... She stopped talking and looked at the floor. What else? Viktor pressed, gently. He said, I remember what happens when he gets angry. Mei-Lin's voice was so quiet, Viktor had to lean closer to hear her. Viktor saw the fear in her eyes. It was the same fear he saw in his own mirror every morning. Fear of someone who had been hurt before and knew it could happen again. Tell me about him, Viktor said. Tell me about Li Wei. How do you know him? Mei-Lin sat down in a chair across from Viktor. She looked small and broken, like a bird with a hurt wing. For a long time, she just stared at her hands. He was my husband, she finally said. Back in China. My father owed him money. When my father couldn't pay, Li Wei said he would take me instead. Like I was a car or a house. Viktor felt sick. He had heard of things like this happening in poor countries. But hearing it from someone he knew made it real and horrible. How old were you? He asked. 19, Mei-Lin said. I was in college. I wanted to be a teacher. I had dreams. She laughed, but it was a sad sound. Li Wei said I could have new dreams, his dreams. What kind of man is he? Mei-Lin was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was flat and empty. Li Wei owns restaurants and hotels in Shanghai, but that's not his real business. His real business is hurting people who can't fight back. Viktor nodded. He understood. Men like Li Wei existed all over the world. They smiled and wore nice suits, but they were monsters underneath. He hurt you, Viktor said. It wasn't a question. Every day for 3 years, Mei-Lin said. Not just with his hands, with his words too. He made me feel like I was nothing, like I deserved everything bad that happened to me. Viktor felt anger growing in his chest. He had made many mistakes in his life. He had been greedy and selfish, but he had never hurt someone weaker than him just because he could. How did you get away? Viktor asked. One night, Li Wei went to Beijing for business. I took money from his safe. Not much. just enough for a plane ticket. I ran to the airport and bought the first ticket to America. And you've been hiding here ever since? Mei-Lin nodded. Working at this hotel. Sending money to my mother. Trying to forget. Viktor looked at the photos of his daughter still scattered on the table. Emma's young face smiled up at him from each picture. She looked so happy and safe. She had no idea her father's bad choices had put her in danger. I don't understand, Viktor said. How does Li Wei know about my debt? How does he know about Emma? Li Wei has friends everywhere, Mei-Lin said. In China, in America, in Europe. Rich men, poor men, government men. They all owe him favors. Viktor's phone buzzed. A text message. He looked at it, and his face went white. What is it? Mei-Lin asked. Viktor showed her the phone. The message was in English. Your daughter is very pretty. She looks just like her mother, a friend of Li Wei. Attached was another photo. This one showed Emma walking out of her school just hours ago. Someone had taken it that very day. They're watching her right now, Viktor whispered. They could take her any time. Mei-Lin felt like she was drowning. My mother, she said. He'll hurt my mother too. She's in the hospital. She can't even walk. She never did anything wrong. Viktor stood up and walked to the window. The city stretched out below them like a field of lights. Millions of people living their normal lives. Going to work, eating dinner, watching TV. None of them knew that two people in a fancy hotel room were trapped in a nightmare. $50 million, Viktor said to the window. I had that much money once, maybe more. But it's all gone now. Frozen by the government, tied up in court cases. I can't get it even if I wanted to. Then we're both dead, Mei-Lin said simply. Viktor turned around. Maybe not. Li Wei is a businessman, right? Maybe we can make a different kind of deal. What do you mean? Viktor sat back down. His mind was working fast now. You said Li Wei has enemies. Men like him always have enemies. What if we could give him something better than money? Mei-Lin looked confused. Like what? Information, names, addresses, bank account numbers. The kind of information that could hurt his enemies and help him make more money. I don't know anything like that. Viktor smiled for the first time since the phone call started. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a desperate man who had just thought of a very dangerous plan. But I do, he said. I know things about Li Wei's business rivals. Things that could make him very rich or get his enemies arrested. Maybe even both. How do you know these things? Viktor was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful and low. Because I've been working with the FBI for 6 months. They promised to protect me if I helped them catch criminals who lend money to desperate people. Mei-Lin stared at him. You're a spy. I'm a scared man who made a deal to stay alive, Viktor said. Just like you're a scared woman who ran away to stay alive. Thunder crashed outside. The lights in the room flickered again. The FBI, Mei-Lin said slowly. They could protect us? Maybe. If we can get to them. If we can prove we're valuable enough to save. Viktor's special phone started ringing. Not his regular phone. A different one. A secret one, hidden in his jacket pocket. He pulled it out and looked at the screen. The name said, Agent Sarah Chen, FBI. Viktor looked at Mei-Lin. This is our chance. But once I answer this phone, there's no going back. We're either going to be saved or we're going to be dead. Mei-Lin thought about her mother in the hospital bed, about Emma at her school, about Li Wei's cold voice promising death. Answer, she said. Viktor pressed the green button. Agent Chen, he said, we have a problem. A big problem. Viktor, where are you? Agent Chen's voice sounded worried and far away. You missed your check-in call. We've been looking for you. Li Wei found me, Viktor said. He's here, in America, and he has hostages. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Then Agent Chen spoke again, and her voice was different, colder. That's interesting, Viktor, because Li Wei has been sitting right here next to me for the past hour, and he's very eager to meet with you. Viktor's blood turned to ice. Agent Chen was working for Li Wei. The FBI agent he trusted was a traitor. The trap had been set long before they even knew they were caught. Viktor stared at the phone like it had turned into a snake. Agent Chen's voice came through the speaker, but now it sounded different, cold and mean instead of helpful and kind. Surprised, Viktor? Agent Chen said. You thought the FBI was going to save you? You thought. We were the good guys. You're working for him, Viktor said. His voice came out like a croak. I'm working for whoever pays me the most money, Agent Chen replied. And Li Wei pays very, very well. Mei-Lin grabbed Viktor's arm. Her fingers dug into his skin like claws. What is she saying? She whispered. The FBI agent I trusted, Viktor said. She's been working for Li Wei all along. Mei-Lin's face went white. If they couldn't trust the police, who could they trust? Who was left to help them? Agent Chen's voice came through the phone again. Li Wei wants to talk to you, Viktor. He's right here. But first, he wants to say hello to his lovely wife. The phone was passed to someone else. Then Li Wei's smooth voice filled the room. Hello again, my dear Mei-Lin. I hope you enjoyed your little chat with Agent Chen. She's been very helpful. She told me exactly where you've been hiding all this time. Mei-Lin felt sick. The FBI had been watching her too, reporting back to Li Wei. She had never been free at all. You've been planning this for a long time, Viktor said. 6 months, Li Wei said. Ever since you first came to Agent Chen for help. She told me about your money problems, about your debts, about your beautiful daughter in Switzerland. Viktor closed his eyes. Every step he had taken to escape Li Wei had actually brought him closer to the trap. What do you want us to do? Viktor asked. Nothing complicated, Li Wei said. Just come downstairs. My friends are waiting for you in the lobby. Viktor and Mei-Lin looked at each other. Then Viktor ran to the window and looked down at the street. 3 black cars were parked in front of the hotel. Men in dark suits stood beside them. They were all looking up at the penthouse windows. They're here, Viktor said. Right now. Of course they are, Li Wei said. Did you think I would give you 24 hours to run away again? I'm not a patient man, Viktor, and I've been waiting 3 years to get my wife back. Mei-Lin heard footsteps in the hallway outside, heavy boots on the marble floor, men talking in Chinese. Li Wei's people were already inside the hotel. The elevator, Viktor said. We have to get to the elevator. But when Viktor opened the door to look out, the hallway was full of shadows. Dark shapes moving toward them, voices getting louder. This way, Mei-Lin said. She grabbed Viktor's hand and pulled him toward a different door, a door he had never noticed before. Where does that go? Viktor asked. Service elevator, Mei-Lin said. For the hotel workers. I know another way out. They ran through parts of the hotel Viktor had never seen, narrow hallways with ugly fluorescent lights, past the laundry room where big machines washed sheets and towels, past the kitchen where cooks prepared fancy meals for rich guests. These were the hidden parts of the hotel, the parts where people like Mei-Lin worked their invisible jobs, the parts that rich people never saw. Behind them, they could hear Li Wei's men shouting, doors opening and closing, footsteps getting closer. They reached the service elevator. Mei-Lin pressed the button hard over and over. The numbers above the door showed where the elevator was. Floor 20, floor 19, floor 18. Come on, Viktor whispered. He looked back down the hallway. He could see flashlight beams, moving in the darkness. Floor 15, floor 14, floor 13. The footsteps were getting louder. Voices in Chinese and English. Someone was giving orders. Someone else was answering back. Floor 8, floor 7, floor 6. There, a voice shouted. A flashlight beam hit the wall next to Viktor's head. Floor 3, floor 2, floor 1. The elevator. Doors opened with a soft ding. Viktor and Mei-Lin jumped inside. Mei-Lin pressed the basement button as hard as she could. Just as the doors started to close, they saw shadows at the end of the hallway. Li Wei's men had found them. The elevator moved down slowly, too slowly. Viktor could hear his heart beating in his ears. Mei-Lin held onto his arm so tight it hurt. "They'll take the other elevator," Viktor said. "They'll beat us to the bottom." "Maybe," Mei-Lin said. "But I know the basement. They don't." The elevator stopped with a gentle bump. Basement level. The doors opened onto a dark hallway that smelled like old water and cleaning chemicals. Mei-Lin led Viktor through the maze of the hotel's underground, past huge water pipes and electrical boxes, past rooms full of old furniture and broken equipment, past storage areas where they kept extra towels and soap. This was Mei-Lin's world, the world of workers and machines and things that rich guests never wanted to see. She knew every corner, every door, every hiding place. Behind them, they heard the other elevator arrive. Ding! Men's voices echoing in the basement. Flashlight beams dancing on the walls. "This way," Mei-Lin whispered. She pulled Viktor toward a heavy metal door marked Emergency Exit. Viktor pushed on the door. It didn't move. He pushed harder. "Nothing. It's locked," he said. His voice was full of panic. The voices behind them were getting closer. Someone was speaking Chinese. Someone else was answering in English with a thick accent. "Up there," Mei-Lin said. She pointed to a small window near the ceiling. It was dirty and covered with metal bars, but it was their only chance. Viktor lifted Mei-Lin up toward the window. She grabbed the bars and tried to shake them loose. They were old and rusty. After a few seconds, they started to move. "Hurry," Viktor said. The voices were very close now. Mei-Lin kicked at the window glass. It cracked, then broke with a loud crash that echoed through the basement like a gunshot. The voices stopped. Then they started moving faster. Mei-Lin squeezed through the broken window. Glass cut her arms and legs, but she didn't care. She reached back down to help Viktor. "I'm too big," Viktor said. "I won't fit." "You have to try," Mei-Lin said. "They're almost here." Viktor grabbed Mei-Lin's hands. She pulled while he pushed himself up toward the window. It was tiny. He barely fit. His expensive suit tore on the broken glass. Just as Viktor's feet disappeared through the window, the basement door behind them exploded open. Li Wei's men poured into the room like angry water. Someone yelled, someone else fired. A gun. The bullet hit the wall where Viktor's head had been just seconds before. They were outside now, in the alley behind the hotel. Rain was falling hard, soaking them in seconds. The city looked gray and dangerous, but they were alive. "My car," Viktor said. He pointed across the street to where a silver sports car sat under a streetlight. They ran through the rain and traffic. Cars honked at them. People on the sidewalk stared. But Viktor and Mei-Lin didn't care. They just ran. They reached the car and jumped inside. Viktor started the engine with shaking hands. It roared to life like an angry beast. In the mirror, Viktor saw Li Wei's men coming out of the hotel. They saw the car. They started running toward it. Viktor stepped on the gas pedal as hard as he could. The car shot forward like a rocket. Behind them, they heard gunshots. The back window exploded, covering them with pieces of glass. They were racing through the city now. Viktor drove faster than he had ever driven before, through red lights and around corners. past surprised people and honking cars. "Where are we going?" Mei-Lin asked. She was holding onto her seat with both hands. "Away," Viktor said. "As far away as we can get." But even as they drove, Viktor knew the truth. Li Wei had friends everywhere. Agent Chen had proven that. There was nowhere to run where Li Wei couldn't find them. Viktor's phone buzzed with a text message. Mei-Lin looked at it and screamed. The message was a photo of her mother. She was tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse. Her eyes were wide with fear. Tape covered her mouth. The text said, "You have 12 hours to come back. Both of you. Or the old woman dies slowly. Li Wei." Mei-Lin stared at the photo on Viktor's phone. Her mother looked so small and helpless tied to that chair. The woman who had raised her alone after her father died. The woman who had worked 3 jobs to pay for Mei-Lin's school. The woman who was now sick with cancer and could barely walk. "Mama," Mei-Lin whispered, tears mixed with the rain on her face. Viktor pulled the car into an empty parking garage. The engine echoed off the concrete walls as he turned it off. They sat in the dark silence, both breathing hard from their escape. "It's my fault," Mei-Lin said. "If I had never answered that phone, your daughter would be safe. My mother would be safe. Everyone would be safe." "No," Viktor said firmly. "This is Li Wei's fault, not yours. You were trying to help." But Mei-Lin wasn't listening. She was lost in her guilt and fear. "I have to go back to him. It's the only way to save her." Viktor turned to look at her. Even in the dark car, he could see the pain in her eyes. "If you go back to Li Wei, he'll kill you both anyway. Men like him don't keep promises. They only make threats." "Then what do we do?" Mei-Lin asked. "We can't run forever. He has people everywhere. Even the FBI works for him." Viktor was quiet for a long moment. His mind was racing, trying to think of something, anything that might save them. "There might be another way," he said slowly. "But it's dangerous, maybe impossible." "Tell me," Mei-Lin said. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "Li Wei wants 2 things," Viktor said. "His money and his revenge. But he's also a businessman. If we could offer him something better than revenge, something that would make him richer and more powerful, he might make a deal." "What could be better than $50 million? Viktor looked out at the empty parking garage. "Information. Li Wei has enemies in China. The government there has been trying to arrest him for years. But he's too smart, too careful. He always stays one step ahead." "How do you know this?" Viktor took a deep breath. "Because I haven't been completely honest with you. Yes, I was working with Agent Chen, but before I found out she was corrupt, she told me things. Secret things about Li Wei's business." Mei-Lin stared at him. "What kind of things?" "Li Wei doesn't just lend money and hurt people. He moves money for other criminals. Drug dealers, weapons sellers, people who traffic humans. He helps them. Hide their money in banks around the world. That's how he got so rich. That's how he got so powerful," Viktor said. "But it's also how we might be able to stop him. Because I have copies of bank records, names of his partners, account numbers. Everything the Chinese government would need to bring down his whole organization." Mei-Lin felt a tiny spark of hope. "You have proof of his crimes?" "Hidden in a safe place," Viktor said. "But getting to it won't be easy, and using it will be even harder." Viktor's phone rang. Not the regular phone, not the FBI phone. A third phone that Mei-Lin hadn't seen before. Viktor looked at the screen, and his face went pale. "That's impossible," he said. "Who is it?" Mei-Lin asked. "It says Emma," Viktor said. "My daughter. But she doesn't have this number. No one has this number except—" Viktor answered the phone with shaking hands. "Hello?" "Daddy?" came a young girl's voice. She sounded scared and far away. "Daddy?" Where are you? Emma, Viktor said. Emma, are you okay? Where are you? I don't. No, Emma said. She was crying. Some men came to my school. They said you sent them to pick me up, but when I got in their car, they drove me somewhere else. Daddy, I'm scared. Viktor's world started spinning. His little girl, his innocent, beautiful daughter. Li Wei had taken her. It's okay, baby, Viktor said, trying to keep his voice calm. Daddy's going to find you. Everything's going to be okay. The men want to talk to you, Emma said. Her voice was getting smaller and more frightened. The phone was taken away from Emma. A man's voice came on the line. He spoke English, but with a thick Chinese accent. Mr. Petrov, the man said, your daughter is safe, for now. But if you want to see her again, you will do exactly what Li Wei tells you. Don't hurt her, Viktor begged. Please, she's just a child. She has nothing to do with this. That depends on you, the man said. Li Wei is waiting at the old warehouse on Pier 47. You know the one. Bring the woman. Bring yourself. Come. Alone. You have 1 hour. 1 hour, Viktor said. But the text said 12 hours. That was before you ran away, the man said. Now Li Wei is angry, very angry. 1 hour, Mr. Petrov, or your daughter learns what happens to people who disappoint Li Wei. The line went dead. Viktor dropped the phone like it was on fire. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold onto the steering wheel. They have Emma, he said. His voice sounded broken. They took her from her school. She's just a little girl, Mei-Lin. She doesn't even know why this is happening. Mei-Lin felt like her heart was being torn in half. Emma was innocent. Her mother was innocent. And both of them were going to die because of choices that Li Wei had forced on other people. 1 hour, Viktor said. We have 1 hour to get to Pier 47. It's a trap, Mei-Lin said. You know it's a trap. I know, Viktor said. But what choice do we have? If we don't go, Emma dies. Your mother dies. If we do go, we probably die too. But at least they might live. Viktor started the car again. The engine roared to life, echoing off the concrete walls of the parking garage. Wait, Mei-Lin said. You said you had information, bank records, proof of Li Wei's crimes. Where is it? In a safety deposit box across town, Viktor said, but it would take at least 2 hours to get there and back. We don't have time. Mei-Lin was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that surprised them both. What if we don't need 2 hours? What if we split up? Viktor looked at her like she was crazy. Split up? Li Wei said to come together. Li Wei expects us to be scared and desperate, Mei-Lin said. He expects us to do exactly what he tells us. But what if we don't? What are you thinking? Mei-Lin's voice got stronger as she talked. You go to get the bank records. I go to the warehouse. I tell Li Wei that you're coming with the money. That buys you time to get the evidence. Absolutely not, Viktor said. I won't let you face Li Wei alone. You know what he'll do to you. And I won't let Emma die because we were too scared to take a risk, Mei-Lin said. She's innocent, Viktor, just like my mother. If there's a chance to save them both, we have to try. Viktor stared at her. This quiet hotel maid who had seemed so helpless just hours ago was now talking about facing a dangerous criminal alone to save his daughter. Why would you do that for Emma? Viktor asked. You don't even know her. Mei-Lin was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft but determined. Because 3 years ago, a stranger helped me escape from Li Wei, a taxi driver who saw me crying at the airport. He paid for my ticket when my credit card didn't work. He didn't know me, but he helped me anyway. She looked at Viktor with eyes that were no longer full of fear. Sometimes strangers are the only family we have. Viktor stared at Mei-Lin for a long moment. Her words hung in the air between them like a bridge connecting two different worlds. A rich man who had everything and lost it all. A poor woman who had nothing but gave everything she had. "You're talking about walking into hell," Viktor said quietly. "Li Wei will hurt you the moment he sees you. You know that." "I've been hurt before," Mei-Lin said. "I survived it then. I can survive it again." "This is different. This time he's angry, really angry. When Li Wei gets angry..." Viktor stopped talking. He couldn't finish the sentence. Mei-Lin touched Viktor's arm gently. "Tell me about Emma. What's she like?" Viktor's face softened for the first time in hours. "She's 16. She wants to be an art teacher. She paints these beautiful pictures of flowers and trees. She calls me every Sunday just to ask how my week was. She sounds wonderful." "She is, and she's all I have left." Viktor's voice cracked. "Her mother died when Emma was 10. Cancer, just like your mother has now. I promised my wife I would keep Emma safe. That was the last thing she asked me to do." Mei-Lin nodded. She understood promises made to dying mothers. She understood love that was stronger than fear. "Then we save her," Mei-Lin said simply. Viktor looked at his watch. 53 minutes. Left. The warehouse was 30 minutes away. The safety deposit box was 40 minutes in the other direction. "This is crazy," Viktor said. "We're not action heroes in a movie. We're just two scared people." "Scared people can be brave too," Mei-Lin said. "Sometimes they have to be." Viktor made his choice. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a small silver key. "Safety deposit. Box 247 at First National Bank on Harbor Street," he said. "The records are in a black folder. Bank accounts, wire transfers, names of Li Wei's partners, everything." Mei-Lin took the key. It felt heavy in her hand, like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "What do I do with this information?" she asked. "There's a reporter," Viktor said. "Sarah Martinez at Channel 7 News. She's been investigating Li Wei for months. If something happens to us, get the folder to her. She'll know what to do with it." "Nothing's going to happen to us," Mei-Lin said, but her voice wasn't as strong as her words. Viktor started driving toward the harbor. The city looked different at night. Darker, more dangerous. Streetlights made long shadows that looked like reaching hands. "Mei-Lin," Viktor said, "can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why didn't you ever try to call the police? In 3 years of hiding, why didn't you ever ask for help?" Mei-Lin was quiet for a moment. "You want to know the truth?" "Yes." "I tried. 6 months after I got to America. I went to a police station and told them about Li Wei, about what he did to me, about the arranged marriage and the abuse." "What happened?" "The police officer was very nice. He wrote down everything I said. He gave me a card with a phone number to call if I needed help. He said they would look into it. But they didn't. 2 weeks later, I got a phone call. It was Li Wei. He knew exactly what I had told the police. He knew the officer's name. He knew everything." Viktor felt sick. Someone told him. Li Wei said if I ever talked to police again, my mother would have an accident, not just death. A slow, painful accident that would last for days. "So you stayed quiet." "I stayed invisible," Mei-Lin said. "I thought if I was invisible enough, if I was small enough, maybe he would forget about me." They drove through the empty streets toward the harbor. The smell of salt water came through the car windows. In the distance, they could see the lights of ships and warehouses. Viktor pulled the car over at a bus stop 6 blocks from the pier. "This is as close as I can get," he said. "Li Wei will have people watching the roads." Mei-Lin got out of the car. The night air was cold and wet. She could hear the sound of waves hitting the docks. "Victor," she said through the car window, "if this doesn't work—" "It will work," Victor said. "It has to work." But they both knew he was lying. The chances of them both surviving the next hour were very small. The chances of saving Emma and Mei-Lin's mother were even smaller. Mei-Lin started walking toward the warehouse district. Her footsteps echoed on the empty sidewalk. Behind her, she heard Victor drive away in the opposite direction. For the first time in 3 years, Mei-Lin was completely alone. No hotel to hide in, no other maids to talk to, no cleaning cart to push, just her and the darkness and the choice she had made. She thought about her mother lying in that hospital bed in Shanghai, about Emma tied up, somewhere, scared and calling for her father, about Li Wei waiting in the warehouse with his cold smile and colder eyes. As she walked, Mei-Lin's phone rang. She looked at the screen. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello?" she said carefully. "Mei-Lin Zhang." The voice was American, female, official sounding. "Who is this?" "Agent Jennifer Walsh, FBI. The real FBI, not like Agent Chen." Mei-Lin stopped walking. "How do I know you're real?" "Because Agent Chen has been under investigation for 6 months. We know she's been working for Li Wei. We know about the bank accounts. We know about the fake raids and the missing evidence." "Where were you when Victor needed help?" "We were building our case," Agent Walsh said. "But we didn't know about you. We didn't know Li Wei had taken hostages." "Can you help us?" There was a pause. "Where are you now?" Mei-Lin looked around. She was standing in front of a closed gas station 4 blocks from the pier, near the harbor. "We can be there in 20 minutes with a full team. Don't go to that warehouse alone." "I can't wait," Mei-Lin said. "Li Wei has a 16-year-old girl, and my mother, if I don't show up." "Mei-Lin, listen to me carefully. Li Wei's warehouse is surrounded. We've been watching it all day, but—"
"We can't move until we have solid evidence of his crimes. Victor is getting that evidence right now. Then wait for him. Wait for us. Don't throw your life away." Mei-Lin thought about Emma's scared voice on the phone.
About her mother tied to that chair. About 3 years of hiding and running and being afraid. "I'm tired of waiting," she said. "I'm tired of being afraid." She hung up the phone and kept walking toward the warehouse. Behind her, in the distance, she could hear sirens. Police cars or ambulances. She couldn't tell which, but they sounded far away. Too far away to help. The warehouse district was dark and empty. Old buildings lined the water like broken teeth. Most were abandoned. Perfect places for bad things to happen. Mei-Lin found Pier 47. The warehouse sat at the end of a long wooden dock. Light came from one window. In that light, she could see the shadow of a person tied to a chair. Her mother was in there, and somewhere else, Emma was waiting to be rescued. Mei-Lin took a deep breath and walked toward the light. What she didn't know was that Li Wei wasn't the only one who had been waiting for her. And the person watching her from the shadows wasn't one of Li Wei's men. The person in the shadows was a woman. She wore dark clothes and moved like a cat, silent and careful. She had been watching the warehouse for 3 hours, waiting for something to happen. Her name was Agent Jennifer Walsh, the real FBI agent who had called Mei-Lin on the phone. She wasn't supposed to be here alone. FBI agents were supposed to work in teams. But sometimes rules had to be broken to save innocent lives. Agent Walsh had been hunting Li Wei for 2 years. She knew about his money laundering. She knew about his human trafficking. She knew about the people who had disappeared after owing him money. But she could never prove any of it. Li Wei was too smart, too careful. He always stayed in the shadows while other people did his dirty work. Agent Chen had been feeding him information for months, warning him whenever the FBI got too close. But tonight was different. Tonight Li Wei had made a mistake. He had taken hostages on American soil. He had kidnapped a child, and he was about to show himself in person. Agent Walsh watched Mei-Lin walk toward the warehouse. She wanted to stop her, to call for backup, to do this by the book. But there wasn't time. In 10 minutes, Li Wei might disappear again, and Emma and Mei-Lin's mother would disappear with him. Through her earpiece, Agent Walsh heard Viktor's voice. He was at the bank, trying to get into the safety deposit box. "The bank is closed," Viktor said. His voice was full of panic. "The security guard won't let me in. I need more time." "You don't have more time," Agent Walsh said quietly. "Mei-Lin is almost at the warehouse." "Then stop her." "I can't. She's already too close. If I move now, Li Wei's men will see me." Agent Walsh counted 6 men around the warehouse, all armed, all dangerous. They were positioned to watch the roads and the water, but they weren't watching the old, abandoned building next to the warehouse. That's where Agent Walsh was hiding. That's where she had been setting up her equipment for the past hour. Cameras, recording devices, everything she needed to capture Li Wei's confession. "Viktor," Agent Walsh said, "how long do you need?" 20 minutes, maybe more. The bank manager has to come in with special keys." "You have 10 minutes," Agent Walsh said. "After that, this whole thing falls apart." Through her telescope, Agent Walsh watched Mei-Lin approach the warehouse door. She looked so small and brave, like David walking toward Goliath with nothing but a stone. Agent Walsh had read Mei-Lin's file. She knew about the arranged marriage, about the abuse, about the 3 years of hiding in America. She knew that Mei-Lin had every reason to run away from this place. But instead, she was walking toward the most dangerous man in the city to save people she barely knew. The warehouse door opened before Mei-Lin could knock. Light spilled out onto the dark pier. Eamon in a black suit gestured for her to come inside. Mei-Lin disappeared into the warehouse. Agent Walsh switched to a different camera, one that could see through the warehouse windows. The picture was fuzzy, but she could make out shapes moving inside. "I'm in position," Agent Walsh said into her radio. "I can see the warehouse interior. Mei-Lin just entered." "Agent Walsh," came a voice from FBI headquarters. "You are ordered to withdraw immediately. Wait for backup." "Negative," Agent Walsh said. "We have hostages inside. A 16-year-old girl and an elderly woman. I'm not leaving them." "That's a direct order, Agent Walsh." Agent Walsh turned off her radio. Sometimes being a good agent meant disobeying orders. Through her earpiece, she heard Viktor again. "I'm inside the bank. The manager is opening the safety deposit box now." "Hurry," Agent Walsh said. Inside the warehouse, Mei-Lin stood in the middle of a large empty room. Old fishing equipment hung from the ceiling. The air smelled like salt water and motor oil. Li Wei sat in a chair 20 feet away from her. He looked exactly as she remembered, tall and thin, expensive clothes, cold eyes that never showed any emotion. "Hello, my dear wife," Li Wei said in Chinese. "You look well. America has been kind to you." "I'm not your wife," Mei-Lin said. Her voice was stronger than she felt inside. "Marriage is forever," Li Wei said. "You promised to obey me until death. Do you remember?" Next to Li Wei's chair, Mei-Lin saw her mother. She was tied up and looked weak, but she was alive. Her eyes were wide with fear when she saw Mei-Lin. "Mama," Mei-Lin whispered. "Very touching," Li Wei said. "But where is Viktor? I told you both to come." "He's getting your money," Mei-Lin said. $50 million, just like you wanted." Li Wei smiled. It was not a nice smile. "I don't want just money anymore, Mei-Lin. I want you to understand something. You can't run away from me. You can't hide from me. You belong to me forever." "Where is Emma?" Mei-Lin asked. "Where is Viktor's daughter?" "Safe," Li Wei said. "For now. But that depends on you." Agent Walsh watched through her camera. She could see Li Wei talking, but she couldn't hear what he was saying. She needed to get closer. She needed to record his confession. "Victor," she said into her earpiece, "status report." "I have the documents," Victor said. "Bank records, wire transfers, everything. I'm heading back now." "Don't come to the warehouse," Agent Walsh said. "Li Wei's men are everywhere. Meet me at the backup location. I'm not leaving Mei-Lin alone with him. You'll get her killed if you come here unprepared." Victor was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "There's something else. Something I didn't tell. You." "What?" "The documents aren't just about Li Wei's money laundering. They show that he's planning something big, tomorrow night, something that will hurt a lot of innocent people." Agent Walsh felt ice in her stomach. "What kind of something?" "A ship, coming into the harbor tomorrow night. It's not carrying cargo, it's carrying people. Hundreds of people being smuggled into the country." "Human trafficking?" "Worse," Victor said. "According to these documents, most of the people on that ship don't know they're being sold. They think they're coming to America for jobs, for freedom. They have no idea they're going to be slaves." Agent Walsh closed her eyes. This was bigger than just Li Wei's personal crimes. This was about hundreds of innocent lives. "We have to stop that ship," she said. "First, we have to stop Li Wei," Victor said. "And we have to save Emma and Mei-Lin's mother." Inside the warehouse, Li Wei stood up from his chair. He walked toward Mei-Lin slowly, like a cat stalking a mouse. "You want to save everyone," Li Wei said. "The old woman, the young girl, even Victor. But you can't save everyone, Mei-Lin. You have to choose." "What do you mean?" Li Wei pulled out his phone. On the screen was a live video feed. It showed Emma tied to a chair in what looked like the cargo hold of a ship. "Your friend Victor has been very busy," Li Wei said. "Getting documents, making phone calls, talking to FBI agents. Did you think I wouldn't know?" Mei-Lin's heart sank. Li Wei had been listening to everything. "So here's your choice," Li Wei said. "You can try to save your mother, or you can try to save the girl, but you can't save both. And if you try to be a hero, they both die." Agent Walsh heard everything. Through her listening device, she was running out of time, running out of options. "Victor," she said urgently, "Li Wei knows you have the documents. He knows about our phone calls. You've been compromised." "Then we have to move now," Victor said. "It's too dangerous. Li Wei has too many men." "I don't care," Victor said. "Emma is my daughter. I'm not losing her." Agent Walsh made a decision that would change everything. She turned her radio back. "This is Agent Walsh," she said. "I need immediate backup at Pier 47, multiple hostages, armed suspects. And I need the Coast Guard to stop all ships leaving the harbor tonight." "Agent Walsh," came the voice from headquarters. "You were ordered to withdraw." "I'm ordering you to send help," Agent Walsh said. "Under emergency protocols. We have a federal case with multiple victims." There was silence on the radio. Then, "Backup is en route. ETA 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Agent Walsh hoped it would be enough time. Inside the warehouse, Li Wei was still talking to Mei-Lin, still making her choose between the people she loved. But what Li Wei didn't know was that Mei-Lin had already made her choice. Not between her mother and Emma, between being a victim and being a fighter. And Agent Walsh was about to find out that sometimes hotel maids know more about staying hidden than anyone expects. Inside the warehouse, Mei-Lin looked around carefully. She had been trained to notice details, where the exits were, how many men Li Wei had with him, what weapons they carried, where the shadows were darkest. Li Wei thought he was watching a scared hotel maid, but Mei-Lin was watching him right back, and she was seeing things he didn't expect her to see. "You're taking too long to choose," Li Wei said. "Your mother or the girl, pick one." I need to think, Mei-Lin said. She walked closer to where her mother was tied up, but really, she was looking at the rope, at the knots, at how the chair was positioned. Li Wei laughed. Thinking won't help you. There is no good choice. That's the point. You're right, Mei-Lin said sadly. There is no good choice. But there might be a third option. What third option? Instead of answering, Mei-Lin did something that surprised everyone in the warehouse. She smiled. Li Wei, she said in perfect clear Chinese. Do you remember what I used to do before you married me? Li Wei looked confused. You were a college student. You wanted to be a teacher. That's what you thought, Mei-Lin said. But you never really asked, did you? You never cared. What I did or who I was. You just saw something pretty that you wanted to own. Outside the warehouse, Agent Walsh was listening through her equipment. Something was changing in Mei-Lin's voice. She sounded different, stronger, more confident. What are you talking about? Li Wei asked. For the first time, he sounded unsure. I wasn't just any college student, Mei-Lin said. I was studying criminal justice. I was training to be a police officer. And when my father told me about the arranged marriage, do you know what I did? Li Wei didn't answer. He was staring at Mei-Lin like he was seeing her for the first time. I went to the police, Mei-Lin continued. I told them about you, about your businesses, about the money you laundered and the people you hurt, and they made me an offer. You're lying, Li Wei said, but his voice was getting quieter. They asked me to marry you, Mei-Lin said. To be their spy inside your organization. To gather evidence that could put you in prison forever. The warehouse went completely silent. Even Li Wei's men stopped moving. For 3 years, I lived in your house, Mei-Lin said. I cooked your food and cleaned your rooms, and every night while you slept I photographed your documents. I recorded your phone calls. I memorized the names of your business partners. Li Wei's face was turning white. That's impossible. You were afraid of me. You cried when I hit you. I'm a very good actress, Mei-Lin said. And yes, you did hurt me. That was real. But I let you hurt me because it made you trust me. Because it made you think I was weak and helpless. Agent Walsh was recording everything. This was the confession she needed, but she was also amazed. Mei-Lin wasn't just a victim. She was an undercover agent. The night I ran away, Mei-Lin continued, I didn't run because I was scared. I ran because my job was finished. I had all the evidence the police needed to arrest you. Then why didn't they arrest me? Li Wei demanded. Because you disappeared, Mei-Lin said. You left China the same week I left. You came to America and started a new business here. The Chinese police couldn't touch you anymore. Li Wei was breathing hard now. His perfect plan was falling apart. You've been working with the American police too? Not exactly, Mei-Lin said. I've been working as a hotel maid, staying invisible, waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for you to make a mistake big enough to bring you back into the open. And kidnapping. An American girl was a very big mistake. Li Wei pulled out a gun. His hands were shaking with anger. You think you're so smart, but you're still going to die, and so is your mother, and so is Victor's daughter. Actually, said a voice from the darkness, no one else is going to die tonight. Victor stepped out of the shadows near the back of the warehouse, but he wasn't alone. Behind him came Agent Walsh and 6 FBI agents with bulletproof vests and big guns. How did you get in here? Li Wei shouted. His men started reaching for their weapons. The same way Mei-Lin got your attention, Victor said, by being smarter than you expected. Agent Walsh stepped forward. Li Wei Chen, you are under arrest for kidnapping, human trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. You have no proof, Li Wei said. Agent Walsh held up a recording device. Actually, we have your entire conversation with Mei-Lin, including your confession to multiple federal crimes. Li Wei looked around wildly. His men were surrounded. FBI agents had guns pointed at them from every direction. But how? Li Wei asked. I had men watching all the entrances. Mei-Lin walked over to her mother and started untying the ropes. You had men watching the roads and the pier, but you forgot about the old storm drain that runs under these warehouses. Viktor and Agent Walsh have been here for 20 minutes. Storm drain? Li Wei said. I used to play in those tunnels when I was a child, Mei-Lin said. Before you bought me from my father. Hotel maids learn a lot about buildings and how to move through them without being seen. Viktor helped Mei-Lin free her mother. The old woman was weak but alive. She hugged her daughter tight. Where is Emma? Viktor asked Li Wei. Li Wei smiled his cold smile one more time. You'll never find her. She's on a ship in the middle of the ocean by now. Agent Walsh spoke into her radio. Coast Guard, this is Agent Walsh. We need all ships. In the harbor stopped and searched immediately. A voice came back through the radio. Agent Walsh, we've already boarded a cargo ship trying to leave the harbor. We found 23 people being held against their will, including a teenage girl matching the description you sent us. Viktor almost collapsed with relief. Emma? She's safe, sir. All the hostages are safe. The ship has been secured. Li Wei's face twisted with rage. Everything he had planned was ruined. His money laundering business was exposed. His human trafficking operation was destroyed. His perfect revenge against Viktor and Mei-Lin had failed completely. You think you've won, Li Wei said. But I have friends everywhere. Judges, politicians, police chiefs. I'll be out of prison in 6 months. Mei-Lin walked over to Li Wei. She looked him straight in the eyes. Maybe, she said. But there's something else you should know about my 3 years in America. What? I wasn't just hiding and working as a maid. I was also gathering evidence on all your American friends. The corrupt judges, the dirty politicians, the police chiefs who take your money. Li Wei's mouth fell open. Tomorrow morning, Mei-Lin said, the FBI will have warrants for all of them. Your whole American operation is finished. Agent Walsh stepped forward with handcuffs. Li Wei Chen, you have the right to remain silent. As the handcuffs clicked shut, Li Wei looked at Mei-Lin one last time. You destroyed my life, he said. No, Mei-Lin said quietly. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure you couldn't destroy anyone else's. But even as Li Wei was led away, Mei-Lin knew the story wasn't over yet. There was still one more secret that no one in that warehouse knew about. Not even Agent Walsh. Not even Viktor. Secret that would change everything they thought they knew about who Mei-Lin really was. 2 hours later, the warehouse was quiet. Li Wei and his men were in FBI cars, heading to jail. The hostages were safe. The trafficking ship had been stopped. But Viktor still had questions. He found Mei-Lin sitting on the pier, looking out at the dark water. Her mother was at the hospital, getting checked by doctors. Agent Walsh was filling out paperwork. For the first time in hours, they were alone. I don't understand, Viktor said, sitting down next to her. You said you were working for the Chinese police. But you also said you were really afraid of Li Wei, which was true. Mei-Lin was quiet for a long moment. She seemed to be deciding something important. Both, she said finally. I was working for the police, and I was terrified every single day. How is that possible? Mei-Lin pulled out her phone. She showed Viktor a photo of a man in a Chinese police uniform. He looked kind, but tired, like someone who had seen too much sadness. This is Captain Liu Weiming, Mei-Lin said. He's been my boss for 6 years. He's also the man you think is my father. Viktor stared at the photo. That's not your father? My real father died when I was 8, Mei-Lin said. Captain Liu adopted me when I was 12. He trained me to be an undercover agent. The arranged marriage to Li Wei was a police operation from the beginning. You were a child, Viktor said. How could they ask a child to do something so dangerous? I wasn't a child when I married Li Wei, Mei-Lin said. I was 22, I had been training for 3 years, and I volunteered for the mission. Why? Mei-Lin's eyes got hard and sad at the same time. Because Li Wei killed my real parents. He burned down their restaurant when they couldn't pay his protection money. I was at school that day. If I had been home, I would have died too. Viktor felt sick. So this was always about revenge? No, Mei-Lin said firmly. It was about justice. Li Wei hurt hundreds of people, not just my parents. Hundreds of families destroyed. Hundreds of lives ruined. Someone had to stop him. But you were so scared in that hotel room. When you answered the phone, you looked terrified. I was terrified, Mei-Lin said. Being undercover for 3 years, pretending to be someone else every single day, it changes you. The fear becomes real. The helplessness becomes real. Even when you know it's an act. Viktor tried to understand. So, when you ran away to America, I ran because the mission was over. Captain Liu told me to get the evidence to a safe place and disappear until Li Wei could be arrested. But Li Wei left China before we could catch him. And the hotel job was supposed to be temporary, just until Li Wei was found and arrested in China. But years passed. I started to like my life here. I started to think maybe I could be normal. Maybe I could just be Mei-Lin the hotel maid instead of Agent Zhang the spy. Viktor looked at her with new respect. Agent Zhang? My real name is Zhang Mei-Lin, Agent Zhang Mei-Lin of the Shanghai Metropolitan Police, Special Crimes Unit. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the waves hit the pier. The woman in the chair, Viktor said. The one Li Wei said was your mother. If she's not your mother. Agent Liu Xiaomin, Mei-Lin said. Captain Liu's wife. She's also a police officer. She's been working this case with me for 4 years. She came to America too. She came 3 months ago when we learned Li Wei was planning the trafficking operation. We've been working together to map his entire American network. Viktor's head was spinning. So you're both Chinese police officers, working undercover in America. Working with American authorities, Mei-Lin corrected. Agent Walsh has known who we really are for 2 weeks. She's been coordinating with Captain Liu in Shanghai. Why didn't she tell me? Because we weren't sure we could trust you. Rich American businessmen sometimes work with people like Li Wei. We had to be certain you were really a victim and not a partner. Viktor felt hurt, but he understood. When did you know you could trust me? When you wanted to split up to save Emma and Agent Liu. When you were willing to risk your life for people you barely knew. That's when I knew you were a good man. Who had made bad choices, not a bad man making good excuses. Agent Walsh walked over to them. She looked tired, but happy. The Coast Guard found the trafficking ship's logs, she said. Over 300 people were supposed to be sold as slaves. You two just saved 300 lives. We all did, Mei-Lin said. This was a team effort. Speaking of teams, Agent Walsh said, I have a message from Captain Liu in Shanghai. He wants to know if Agent Zhang is ready to come home. Mei-Lin looked out at the dark water. I don't know if Shanghai is home anymore. I've been Mei-Lin the hotel maid for 3 years. She feels more real than Agent Zhang sometimes. You don't have to choose right now, Agent Walsh said. But there is something else. The Chinese government wants to give you both medals for this operation, and the FBI wants to offer you jobs here in America. Viktor looked surprised. Jobs for both of us. You know more about international money laundering than most of our financial crimes agents, Agent Walsh said. And Agent Zhang, well, She just took down one of the most dangerous criminals in the world while working as a hotel maid. We could use someone with her skills. Mei-Lin smiled for the first time in hours. Can I think about it? Of course. But don't think too long. Li Wei's arrest is going to make news all over the world. There will be other criminals who want revenge against the people who caught him. Viktor stood up. What about Emma? Can I see her? She's at the FBI office, Agent Walsh said. She's been asking for you every 5 minutes. She's scared, but she's okay. She wants to know if her father is safe. Viktor started to walk away, then turned back to Mei-Lin. Thank you. For everything. For risking your life to save my daughter. For trusting me with the truth. Thank you. For helping me remember who I really am, Mei-Lin said. For 3 years I forgot that I chose to be an agent. I forgot that I'm not just a victim. I'm someone who fights for people, who can't fight for themselves. After Viktor left, Mei-Lin and Agent Walsh sat on the pier together. So, what happens now? Agent Walsh asked. Now we clean up the mess, Mei-Lin said. Arrest all of Li Wei's American partners. Shut down his money laundering operations. Make sure the people on that ship get proper help. And after that? Mei-Lin was quiet for a long time. I think I want to stay in America, but not as a hotel maid. Maybe as someone who helps other people who are running from dangerous situations. People like Viktor. People like the families. On that ship. The FBI could use someone like that. And I could use a job where I don't have to pretend to be someone else every day. Agent Walsh smiled. I think that can be arranged. As they talked, neither of them noticed the man watching them from a car across the street. Li Wei had more friends than they knew about, and some of those friends were very angry that their business partner was now in jail. The case was closed, but the danger wasn't over yet. The man in the car across the street had been waiting for 3 hours. His name was Marcus Chen, and he was Agent Sarah Chen's brother. Unlike his sister, Marcus had never worked for the FBI. He worked for people who paid better and asked fewer questions. Marcus watched Agent Walsh and Mei-Lin talking on the pier. He knew all about Agent Zhang Mei-Lin. He knew about her real identity. He knew about the police operation. And he knew that Li Wei's business partners were very upset about their recent losses. Li Wei's arrest had cost them $50 million. The trafficking ship had cost them 300 slaves they could have sold. The money laundering operation had cost them billions of dollars in hidden accounts. Someone had to pay for all those losses. Marcus picked up his phone and made a call. It's done, he said when someone answered. Li Wei is in custody, but the Chinese agent and the FBI woman are still alive. That's a problem, said the voice on the other end. The man spoke English, but with a Russian accent. Li Wei was our partner. These people destroyed our business. They must be punished. What do you want me to do? Make them disappear, tonight, before they can cause any more damage. Marcus hung up the phone and checked his gun. He had been a soldier before he became a criminal. He knew how to make people disappear without leaving evidence behind. On the pier, Agent Walsh's phone rang. Agent Walsh, she answered. Jennifer, this is Director Harrison from headquarters. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Agent, Chen had a brother, Marcus Chen. He wasn't FBI, but he knew about her operations. He's been missing since this afternoon. Agent Walsh felt cold fear in her stomach. Missing how? He cleaned out his apartment and disappeared. But before he left, he accessed his sister's computer files. He downloaded everything she had about this case, including information about Agent Zhang. Everything. Her real identity, her cover story, her hotel job. Everything. Agent Walsh looked at Mei-Lin, who was still looking out at the water. We need to get her out of here. Now. There's more, Director Harrison said. We intercepted phone calls between Marcus Chen and known associates of Li Wei. They're planning something for tonight. I'll get Agent Zhang to safety immediately. Jennifer, be careful. Marcus Chen is former military. He's trained to kill, and he has nothing left to lose. Agent Walsh hung up the phone and walked quickly over to Mei-Lin. "We have to go," she said urgently. "Right now." "What's wrong?" Mei-Lin asked. "Agent Chen had a brother. He's working with Li Wei's partners. He knows who you really are." Mei-Lin stood up immediately. Her training kicked in. "How long do we have?" "I don't know. Maybe no time. At all." They started walking quickly toward Agent Walsh's car, but as they reached the parking lot, they saw something that made them both freeze. Agent Walsh's car had flat tires. All 4 of them. "He's already here," Mei-Lin whispered. "Agent..." "Walsh! Agent Zhang!" came a voice from behind them. They turned around. A man in dark clothes was walking toward them. He had his hands up, like he was surrendering, but Mei-Lin could see the gun tucked into his belt. "My name is Marcus Chen," the man said. "I think we need to talk." "We don't have anything to say." "To you," Agent Walsh said. She was reaching slowly for her own gun. "I think you do," Marcus said. "You see, my sister Sarah worked very hard to build relationships with Li Wei's organization. When she died, I inherited those relationships." "Your sister isn't dead," Agent Walsh said. "She's in jail." Marcus laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Sarah chose Li Wei over her own family, over her own country. When you arrested her tonight, you killed her. She'll spend the rest of her life in prison because of you." "She made her choice," Mei-Lin said. "She chose money over justice." "And now I'm making my choice," Marcus said. "Li Wei's partners offered me $10 million for your heads, both of you." "You're going to kill 2 federal agents for money?" Agent Walsh asked. "I'm going to kill 2 people who destroyed my family's life," Marcus said. "The money is just a bonus." Marcus pulled out his gun, but instead of pointing it at them, he held it at his side. "Here's what's going to happen," he said. "You're going to walk with me to that warehouse over there. We're going to have a conversation about where you hid Li Wei's money. And then, when my employers are satisfied, I'm going to make your deaths look like an accident." "And if we refuse?" Agent Walsh asked. Marcus smiled. It was the same cold smile his sister used to have. "Then I shoot you right here and take my chances with the police investigation." Mei-Lin looked around the pier. It was late at night. No other people around. No backup coming. Marcus had chosen his time well. "Okay," Mei-Lin said. "We'll come with you." Agent Walsh looked at her in surprise. "Agent Zhang." "It's okay," Mei-Lin said quietly. "Trust me." They started walking toward the empty warehouse. Marcus walked behind them, his gun now pointed at their backs. "You?" "No," Marcus said as they walked. "My sister told me all about you, Agent Zhang. How you pretended to be a scared little hotel maid. How you fooled everyone into thinking you were helpless." "I was helpless," Mei-Lin said. "For 3 years I was more helpless than I had ever been in my life." "But you're not helpless now, are you?" "No," Mei-Lin said. "I'm not." They reached the warehouse. Marcus made them go inside. It was dark and empty. Water dripped from the ceiling. The smell of old fish and motor oil filled the air. "This is perfect," Marcus said. "Remote, private, easy to clean up afterward." "Before you kill..." "Us," Agent Walsh said. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure, I'm not in a hurry." "How did you know we'd be at the pier tonight?" Marcus laughed. "Because I've been watching you for hours. I saw you arrest Li Wei. I saw the FBI cars leave. I saw you and Agent Zhang sitting alone on the pier having your heart-to-heart conversation. So you've been planning this for hours." "I've been planning this for weeks," Marcus said. "Ever since I found out my sister was working with Li Wei. I knew eventually someone would try to bring him down. I just had to wait and see who it would be." "And now you know," Mei-Lin said. "Now I know," Marcus agreed. "And now you're going to pay for it." Marcus raised his gun and pointed it directly at Mei-Lin's head. Any last words, Agent Zhang? Mei-Lin looked him straight in the eyes. Yes, actually. I have something very important to tell you. What? You made the same mistake your sister made. What mistake? You assumed I was here alone. The warehouse lights suddenly turned on, bright as daylight. FBI agents poured in through every door and window. They had guns pointed at Marcus from all directions. FBI, drop your weapon, they shouted. Marcus spun around, confused and angry. How? Agent Walsh smiled. You're not the only one who's been planning this for hours. We knew about you the moment you downloaded your sister's files. We've been tracking your phone. We've been listening to your conversations. We knew you were coming. This whole thing was a setup? The arrest of Li Wei was real, Mei-Lin said. But everything after that was designed to draw you out. The conversation on the pier, the flat tires, even walking into this warehouse. We needed you to confess to conspiracy and attempted murder. Marcus looked around at all the FBI agents with their guns pointed at him. He was trapped. You recorded everything? He asked. Agent Walsh held up a small recording device. Every word. Marcus dropped his gun and put his hands up. I want a lawyer. You'll get one, Agent Walsh said. Right after we finish arresting all of Li Wei's other partners. Thanks for the phone numbers, by the way. The conversations you had today gave us everything we needed to shut down the entire network. As the FBI agents led Marcus away, Agent Walsh turned to Mei-Lin. How did you know this would work? She asked. Because I've been doing this for 6 years, Mei-Lin said. And I've learned that the best way to catch a criminal is to let them think they're winning right up until the moment they lose. But even as they celebrated their victory, neither of them saw the sniper on the building across the street. Li Wei had more friends than anyone knew, and some of those friends were much more dangerous than Marcus Chen. The sniper's name was Viktor Petrov. He was Russian, and he was very good at his job. He had been watching the warehouse through his rifle scope for 20 minutes, waiting for the perfect shot. But as he watched Agent Walsh and Mei-Lin celebrate their victory, something strange happened. His phone rang. Kozlov, he answered quietly. This is Captain Liu Wei Ming, Shanghai Metropolitan Police, came a voice speaking perfect Russian. I think we need to talk. Kozlov almost dropped his rifle. How did a Chinese police captain get his private number? You have 30 seconds to explain why I shouldn't complete my mission, Kozlov said. Because the woman you're about to kill is not just Agent Zhang Mei-Lin, Captain Liu said. She's also my daughter. And if you hurt her, I will spend the rest of my life making sure you regret it. Kozlov looked through his scope again. The Chinese woman was still talking to the FBI agent. She looked so ordinary, so harmless. Your daughter is a police officer? Kozlov asked. The best police officer I've ever trained, Captain Liu said. But more than that, she's the person who saved 300 innocent people tonight, people who were going to be sold as slaves. Are you really going to kill someone who saves innocent lives? Kozlov was quiet for a moment. He had killed many people in his career, but they had all been criminals or enemies. He had never killed someone who saved innocent people. Li Wei's partners are paying me a lot of money, Kozlov said. How much? Captain Liu asked. $5 million. I'll pay you $10 million to walk away. You don't have $10 million. No, Captain Liu said, but Li Wei does. And thanks to my daughter, all of his money now belongs to the Chinese government, which means I can access it to pay you. Kozlov thought about this. $10 million was more money than he had ever been offered for a single job, even a job that involved not killing someone. How do I know this isn't a trick? Kozlov asked. Because I'm going to transfer $1 million to your account right now, as a good faith payment. The other $9 million comes when you confirm that Agent Zhang is safe. Kozlov's phone buzzed, a banking app notification. $1 million had just been deposited in his secret Swiss account. You can actually access. Li Wei's money? Kozlov asked. Li Wei's money, his properties, his businesses, everything. It's all evidence now, and evidence can be used to protect the people who gathered it. Down below, Agent Walsh and Mei-Lin were walking out of the warehouse. They looked tired, but happy. They had no idea a sniper was watching them from above. There's something else you should know, Captain Liu said. Agent Zhang isn't just my daughter. She's also my best student. If you try to kill her and miss, she will find you, and she will stop you, permanently. Kozlov looked through his scope one more time. The woman did move like someone with combat training, even tired and celebrating. She kept looking around, checking for threats. She's that good? Kozlov asked. She took down Li Wei's entire American operation with nothing but a hotel maid uniform and her intelligence, Captain Liu said. She convinced a billionaire to trust her. She fooled Li Wei into confessing his crimes. She coordinated with the FBI to save hundreds of lives. Do you really want to make an enemy of someone like that? Kozlov made his decision. He took his finger off the trigger and started packing up his rifle. Transfer the money, he said. All of it. I'm walking away. Smart choice, Captain Liu said. But I need one more thing from you. What? The names of everyone else, Li. Wei hired to hurt my daughter. I want a complete list. Kozlov thought about this. Giving up other assassins would make him enemies. But $10 million was a lot of money. Enough to disappear forever and never work again. There are 3 others, Kozlov said. 2 in America, 1 in Switzerland. They're all planning to move against Agent Zhang and her friends within the next 48 hours. Give me their names and locations. I'll make sure they get the same offer you just got. Kozlov provided the information. Within minutes, his phone showed another $9 million in his account. Pleasure doing business with you, Captain Liu, Kozlov said. Take care of yourself, Mr. Kozlov. And remember, if you ever change your mind about this deal, Agent Zhang has friends all over the world now. Friends who know how to find people who break their promises. The line went dead. Down below, Agent Walsh and Mei-Lin had reached the FBI cars. They were talking to other agents, filling out paperwork, making phone calls. Normal police work, after an extraordinary night. Neither of them knew how close they had come to dying. Neither of them knew that Captain Liu had just spent $10 million of Li Wei's money to keep them safe. But Mei-Lin felt something, a feeling that they were being watched. She looked up at the buildings around the warehouse. Nothing. But her training told her someone had been there. Agent Walsh, she said. We should leave, now. Why? The area is secure. I don't know. I just have a feeling. Agent Walsh had learned to trust Mei-Lin's feelings. Okay, let's go. They got in their car and drove away from the warehouse district. As they drove, Mei-Lin's phone rang. Wei, she answered. Hello, my dear daughter, came Captain Liu's voice in Chinese. Mei-Lin smiled. It was the first time in 3 years she had heard him call her daughter instead of Agent Zhang. Hello, Papa, she said. Is everything okay? Everything is fine now. The last of Li Wei's associates have been dealt with. You're safe. Your friends are safe. The case is really closed this time. How can you be sure? Because I just spent a very large amount of Li Wei's stolen money to make sure of it. Mei-Lin laughed. You used his own money to protect the people who arrested him? Justice. Has a sense of humor sometimes, Captain Liu said. Are you ready to come home? Now? Or do you still want to stay in America? Mei-Lin looked out the car window at the city lights, at the place where she had been both. Mei-Lin, the hotel maid, and Agent Zhang, the spy, at the place where she had learned that sometimes the most important family is the one you choose, not the one you're born into. I think I want to stay, she said. At least for a while. Agent Walsh offered me a job with the FBI. I could help other people who are running from dangerous situations. That sounds like something you would be very good at, Captain Liu said. And Papa, thank you for everything. For training me, for trusting me, for saving my life tonight. You saved your own life tonight, Mei-Lin, and the lives of hundreds of other people. I'm very proud of you. After she hung up, Agent Walsh looked at her curiously. Everything okay? She asked. Better than okay, Mei-Lin said. For the first time in 6 years, I think everything is exactly as it should be. 6 months later, Special Agent Mei-Lin Zhang walked through the lobby of the Pacific Crown Hotel. She was wearing a nice suit instead of a gray uniform. She carried a badge instead of a cleaning cart, but she still remembered what it felt like to be invisible. That's why she was so good at her new job, helping people who felt powerless, people who thought no one saw them or cared about them. Viktor Petrov was there too, visiting from Switzerland, where he now ran a foundation that helped victims of human trafficking. Emma was with him, taking pictures for her art class. Agent Zhang, Viktor said when he saw her. How's the new job? Busy, Mei-Lin said. We just shut down another trafficking ring last week. Saved 43 people. That's wonderful. What about you? How's retirement treating you? Viktor smiled. I wouldn't call it retirement. More like a second chance. Emma and I are traveling the world, helping people who were hurt by criminals like Li Wei. And Li Wei? Life in prison. No possibility of parole. His entire network has been destroyed. The money has been returned to his victims. Mei-Lin nodded. Good. As they talked, a young woman in a hotel uniform walked by pushing a cleaning cart. She was new, probably an immigrant, probably scared and trying to be invisible. Mei-Lin stopped her gently. Excuse me, she said. Are you okay? Do you need any help? The young woman looked surprised that someone had actually seen her, actually cared enough to ask. I'm fine, she said in broken English. Just working. If you ever need help, Mei-Lin said, giving her a business card, call this number, day or night. We help people who feel invisible. The young woman took the card and looked at it carefully. FBI, special agent, someone important who cared. About someone like her. Thank you, she whispered. As she walked away, Viktor smiled at Mei-Lin. You're still taking care of the invisible people, he said. Someone has to, Mei-Lin said. Because the most powerful people are often the ones nobody sees coming. Just like a hotel maid who answered a phone call in Chinese and changed everything. Mei-Lin Zhang appeared to be just another invisible hotel maid at the Pacific Crown Hotel. But when she answered a Chinese phone call for billionaire Viktor Petrov, both their lives changed, forever. The call was from Li Wei, Mei-Lin's abusive ex-husband, and a powerful crime boss who demanded money from Viktor and wanted his wife back. What began as a desperate escape from Li Wei's men became an international operation to bring down a massive human trafficking network. The truth was revealed in layers. Mei-Lin wasn't just a victim, but Agent Zhang Mei-Lin of the Shanghai Metropolitan Police, working undercover for 6 years to gather evidence against Li Wei. Her arranged marriage had been a police operation. Her mother was a fellow agent. Her 3 years as a hotel maid in America had been both genuine cover and real personal growth. Viktor, initially just another rich man in trouble, proved himself worthy of trust and friendship. Together with FBI agent Walsh, they saved hundreds of lives and dismantled Li Wei's criminal empire. The story reveals that the most overlooked people, hotel maids, immigrants, the invisible workers of society, often possess hidden strength, intelligence, and the power to change the world. Sometimes the person cleaning your room knows more secrets than you think, and sometimes strangers become the only family that matters. What an incredible journey we've been on together. From a simple hotel maid, answering a phone call to an international spy operation that saved hundreds of lives. Mei-Lin's story shows us that heroes come in all forms. Sometimes they're the people we see every day but never really notice. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and tell me what city or country you're in. It's amazing how stories can connect people from all around the world. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Every like and subscribe helps us spread more stories of kindness, courage, and hope. When we share these stories, we remind each other that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. There's another incredible story waiting for you right now. Just click on the video appearing on your screen. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, you never know when you might be someone's hero. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change everything. Until next time, keep being amazing.